We're back. It's season preview season, and there's only one question on everybody's lips. Can anybody stop Alex Palou? Welcome back to Motorsport 101. I mean, the answer's probably no, but it's a cute idea to give it some thought. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks, but we're very, very delighted to say welcome back to the Motorsport 101 podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood host, Dre Harrison. Thank you for having us back in your homes, in your ears, in your gym workouts, whatever it may be. We're glad to be back. Hi, good to see you. Welcome to season preview season here on M101, where we have 3 season previews for you over the next 3 weeks. This is the first of those, and it's time to talk about IndyCar. And for a series that's so small, it packs such a mighty wallop. This is probably going to take a couple of hours. Punches will be thrown. Teams will be talked about. Teams are no longer here anymore. More charters have been handed out. And somehow Alex Palou still wins. Probably. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Joining me as ever is Cameron Buckley. Hello, Cam. How's it going?
It is certainly going. I feel like the amount of energy I have right now is suitable for talking about the championship challenge in IndyCar, which is to say none. Kind of one-sided, isn't it, in recent years? However,
yes.
The players, those actually taking part in that championship fight, have changed around quite a bit this year. Some of them are here. Some of them aren't. Some of them have worse logos. I'm sorry, Honda. I love you, but that script is just, it's sacrilegious.
I don't hate the typeface, to be honest. It's all right.
I like the logo. I don't like the typeface.
Okay, fair enough. I don't mind the logo either. Like, I've seen a lot worse when it comes to like these minimalist rebrands that a lot of these big places are doing in modern times. I think it's fine, to be honest.
The main logo is just their 60s car logo, which is to say that thing's going to rev to 1 billion and make 60 horsepower.
Aston Martin would kill for 60 horsepower right now.
Oh, yes. 900 horsepower goes in. 900 horsepower goes in, and then you get metallic confetti out of the gearbox, as Lance Stroll found out this morning.
Ooh, in fact, worse, you could be facing the Seahawks defense again.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Well, you know, RJ, it's okay because, you know, we got to the Super Bowl. Something you'll never understand.
You understand if you were over the age of 40.
I don't understand what a catch is either. And if maybe I did, or what an interception was, maybe we would have had the privilege of getting spanked by the Seattle Seahawks. Guess we'll never know. I'm sorry.
It was a great year. Great year to rebuild.
Energy. You asked for more hater energy, Dre. I'm bringing more hater energy, but we got to keep it quick. I'm RJ O'Connell, by the way. We got a lot to talk
grapes
about.
are tremendous here.
Yeah, that was the most sass RJ's put in an intro in years. I'm very proud of him. That is Dre levels of hater energy. I can't help but respect it.
I'm happy we made it back to the Super Bowl in year 2 of a rebuild, and hopefully going into this year, Will Campbell ends up in the same spot as Prema Racing, which is to say, the void.
Yeah, look, it's as a New England Patriots fan, I'm delighted we genuinely made a Super Bowl, and I'm very proud of the team. This was a 4-win team last year, and we won 14 games this year, went 9-0 on the road.
2001 and not no 2025, dog.
Listen. This is what my next sentence was going to be. I know no one is going to give a shit about that because we're the New England Patriots. We are born to be villains, and I completely understand that.
You got 6, and yes, I am doing the hand gestures because
you're
that's
a grown-ass man in your mid-30s. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. What's wrong with your offensive line? What's wrong with your quarterback shoulder?
I'd tell you more if we had one.
Chicken wings. Mac and cheese, collard greens.
Look, all I'm saying is it was genuinely impressive effort. Don't screw it up in the following years, because nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You know that. I know that. Dre, tell the good folks where they can find this race car podcast now that Football 101 is done.
I'm not being lectured at a Buffalo Bills fan about vibes on the outside when you have the most media protected quarterback in the world. Anyway, here's how you can find us real quick. YouTube.com/motorsport101. You can check us on Facebook, motorsport.com/. Motorsport101. You know where to find us on Facebook, Twitter, motorsport_101, or on Blue Sky at Dre Harrison, C Buckley 917, and RJ O'Connell at bsky.social. If you want to get highlights of the show and bonus videos, you can do so on our Instagram and TikTok page as well. Motorsport 101 Pod on Instagram, M101_podcast on TikTok. We've got our website as well, motorsport101.com. You can find out a little bit more about the season in general as well. The Haters Guide to the 2026 season, written by yours truly, that is now out. You can check that out if you want a written preview of the IndyCar season by yours truly, and my usual style of bright colors and hateration, toleration, all up in the dancery. Also, if you really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/motorsport101, where you can help us out there if you want. $5 gets you early access to all of our content. You can upgrade to the $10 tier to listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded, as Ed and Jason are doing so right now. And a big shout out to our brand new Patreon backer, Max McNamara. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And only the second person who's actually done a whole year in advance, which is very, very cool. Thank you so much, Max. That's really appreciated. You can do that if you want. You can back us for a whole year in advance if you want to, and you can save 30% on an annual subscription if you're that way inclined.
If you saying people giving us money up front.
It is effectively 12 months for the price of 9. So if you really want to back us financially and you feel like spending a big lump sum in one go, that's a way you can do so. Thank you so much if you're generous enough to do that. Right, without further ado, let's get into the 2026 IndyCar season preview. Okay, people, let's do this. We're going to go by the usual team by team just in a little bit because we've actually got a fair amount of changes to report for the series right now. There's been some developments in the last couple of weeks that's worth catching up with and discussing. We already talked about the new round that's been added to the calendar at Washington, D.C. We talked about that on our last episode. If you want our full thoughts on that, basically, fuck it, essentially. And not in a good way either. But we'll talk about the things.
They got the people that run the Washington Wizards to handle like the promotion and hospitality of this event. So I'm sure it's going to go fine. There's also another change that's not really a change, but I've got to say it's not a market crash, but at least one sector of the Indoomer economy is in ruins. Ruins, I tell you, because we're keeping the same two engine manufacturers for at least another few years.
Yes. Both Chevrolet and Honda have signed up for not only seeing out the end of these regulations, but bringing in the 2.4 liter V6s for 2028 when we get the new car. If that's when we get the new car, we'll have to wait and see on that. And the way IndyCar has achieved that is, let's call it a necessary evil, because they have handed both of the manufacturers, Ilmor with Chevrolet badging and Honda, factory charters, opening up the opportunity for factory cars.
Yes, one charter for each of the manufacturers in play. It's pretty much the same type deal that the teams have in IndyCar. The only big difference is they cannot give that charter to another team or sell that charter on. They can only give it back to IndyCar itself and obviously aka Penske Entertainment, essentially. It's a sweetener, you could say, because allegedly, according to Marshall Pruitt, Chevrolet and Honda are spending around $13 to $17 million a year on their engine programs. Honda was on the brink of leaving. The fact that they have stuck around is a huge plus. There's no getting around it. As Cam says, I think Cam summed it up perfectly. A necessary evil. I don't think you necessarily want to give away a portion of value of your entire series in order to keep them around, but it's better that way than potentially losing Honda, quite frankly.
Yeah, Honda provides so much sponsorship. They subsidize so many races. We've talked about it before on this podcast. Losing them would be
catastrophic.
A meteor.
Yes.
A meteor for the series, as you would see it violently contract overnight. What you do get out of this as well, we think we know it's probably going to be Meyer Shank Racing, who's going to be running the factory Honda car.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know as far as the Chevys, but let's be real. Penske basically have put that engine program together behind the scenes.
I think it's going to be AJ Foyt. And the reason why is because another asterisk on this deal is it cannot be a team that's got 3 cars already. The reason being is because it's the original charter agreement. No team is allowed to own more than 3. So that takes Penske out of the running. That takes McLaren out of the running. That takes Andretti out of the running. So, of the Chevy power teams on the left, I would argue the best one is now probably AJ Foyt's team.
Also, just announced that they are keeping their technical Penske tie-up for the foreseeable future as well. I think for another 4 years. 4 years.
It makes sense, really, with that in mind, with the technical alliance in mind. It would make the most sense for me just to give them the 3rd car and have Penske essentially run it anyway. So, you can see those paths converging. Dale Coyne, I love the fact that Dale Coyne was like, we can run your Honda. We'd love to. And Honda's like, no. It was quite funny.
I admire the ambition.
Yes.
I admire the moxie of, hey, if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Exactly.
Beyond that as well, further confirmation that 2028 is the intention that we get basically a whole new technical package with IndyCar. That's going to be up to Dallara and the teams, though. And I mean, what else really? Behind the scenes, that's about it before the calendar.
Yeah, we're testing right now for one of the new events on the calendar, which is now 18 races big. We talked about the big change, but from the top, the season starts Sunday, March 1st on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, the traditional opening round of the NTT Series for
now with NASCAR.
2 decades. Now with the NASCAR Truck Series and Emmett's 5 Cup with some fun cameos.
That is a murderer's row of silly series.
Oh, yeah. We've got James Hinchcliffe in a truck. We've got Sebastian Bourdais and Earl Bamber in MX-5s.
We got Dario Franchitti in a truck.
Whose bright idea was that?
Okay, look, however, by the way, welcome Dario back to like legit motorsport, because he has not really done anything outside of, Goodwood events and testing since his career-ending crash in 2013. However, I hope it goes better than his last NASCAR stint, which kind of made everyone just look onwards going, why?
Well, it's for a little bit of fun. And if you told me that Sebastian Bourdais, Scott Dixon, James Hinchcliffe, and Dario Franchitti were all sharing the track at St. Petersburg, I would ask you, what year is this? Because it doesn't sound like 2026.
Right.
St. Petersburg starts us off, and then we come back to the first of a couple of new or returning venues. Phoenix Raceway, back Saturday, March the 7th, as a part of a doubleheader with NASCAR. And then we go out to Jerry World, the land where all championship aspirations go to die, except for in the World Cup. It's the Grand Prix of Arlington around AT&T Stadium on Sunday, March 15th. You said you wanted a front-loaded calendar. You've got it, because on March 29th, we go to Barber Motorsports Park. R.I.P. George Barber Jr. You could have built another terrible golf course with all your fortune. You instead built one of the most underrated road courses in North America. We will miss you dearly. The Grand Prix of Long Beach on April 19th, the second biggest event of the IndyCar calendar in terms of prestige. I hope to be there without the novel coronavirus. And then the month of May begins in earnest. Saturday, May the 9th, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course for the Indianapolis Grand Prix, kicking off 2 weeks of preparations leading up until the Indianapolis 500, Sunday, May 24th. 110 runnings of these. Wow. That means it's been 10 years since the 100th. Christ, we're getting old. We got Detroit next. The Detroit Grand Prix around the Renaissance Center, General Motors' soon-to-be former headquarters on May 31st. Then we go to St. Louis, Gateway Motorsports Park, June 7th. Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, June 21st. And then Mid-Ohio Road Course on July 5th, followed by the trip to Nashville Superspeedway on July 19th. Because it swapped places with WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, which is now the ending round of the series. Which is now the ending round of the series, I should say. Apologies. Portland International Raceway takes us into the home stretch of the season, a gargantuan swing of races to end the season. Portland, Oregon, August 9th. And then we go to Markham, just north of Toronto, the new de facto Indy Toronto, around the streets of Markham, Ontario on August 16th. There's some event in DC on August 23rd, but who cares? Because we're going to Milwaukee next for a doubleheader on August 29th and 30th to close out the season. And then, of course, September 6th, the series ends at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, where by now you'll probably have seen Alex Palou crowned a champion, or he'll be crowned champion at the end of the season. Who knows?
Yeah. 18 races, the most loaded IndyCar calendar of modern times, and a quintuple header of 6 races in the final 5 weeks of the season. It's going to be a hectic finish, let me tell you. Whew. We talked about the schedule already a little bit earlier on in the year. Go back and find it if you really want some extra thoughts on that, but it is loaded. Quick note as well on Indy 500 part-timers you've had confirmed so far. The big one, Ryan Hunter-Ray, is back in a McLaren this time to take on the biggest race in the world. He's there with them. Jack Harvey is one of the 2 Drea Rainer-Reinebold Rainick seats that have been confirmed. But obviously they'll be looking for another partner in the other car this year. And that's not been confirmed yet. Ed Carpenter, of course, will give it another crack in the car that bears his name in the 33. And Helio Castroneves is back with Meyer Shank in the 06 car. He'll be entering his 52nd year of life the week before that race. Unbelievable.
You have to assume he'll still have great hair for that.
Of course he will. It's for Helio Castroneves. I'd expect nothing less. There's some questionable ones in there. Catherine Legg, I know, is actively trying to put together enough funding for a seat. Nothing confirmed just yet, but she's trying to get on the grid for that race again. Also, Colton Herta is trying to get on the grid. This one's a lot more likely because there is no Formula 2 races in the month of May, so Herta can fully dedicate himself to that 500 schedule. Yeah. It's just a matter of getting the funding together, and it'll likely be in the 98 car that Andretti keeps. It's just a matter of confirming all of that.
Because no more Marco Andretti. He retired from the series. Besides that, we've got a few names sniffing around. I am almost certain Connor Daly will end up in a car by the start of festivities.
Almost certain, yeah, I reckon.
Right now, they are going to move heaven. We're going to get Heaven and Mirth moved to get to 33 cars. I don't know if we're going to get any more. I don't know if we're getting more than 33.
I agree. I feel like we are at 31 confirmed entries right now. I don't know, we're down 2 for one very big reason we'll get to very shortly. But we're at 31 confirmed entries. I reckon we'll probably get to 33, but I don't think we'll get any more. I don't think there'll be a bum day this year. Let's put it to you that way. We'll see how we go. It would technically be the smallest field since 1997 if we did, because that was a 35-car field, but we might not get a full grid, basically.
Every field's the smallest field since 1997, because that race wasn't supposed to have 35 cars in it.
Whoops. But yes, we will see.
Gotta love the 25-8 rule.
Now, fortunately, we're also bringing some more glum news here, because there's a green, white, and red branded elephant in the room we have to address, and that is Prema. And, well, it looks like, by all accounts, Prema is done. For some context, their team name is no longer on the IndyCar website as of last week. It was taken off very quietly. Now, I need to stress, we've had no official confirmation as of February 18th from within Prema about what their current status is. But by all accounts, and from everybody who knows their shit when it comes to IndyCar, the general reading of the room is they will not be here. The signs are there.
Well, what we've seen for probably the last 2 or 3 months is them kind of getting picked over like a corpse. We know that they have hemorrhaged a good deal of their staff out to other teams. I know RLL picked up a couple of theirs. It ain't great.
It's not great when Rene Rosen, the man that founded the team along with his family 40 years ago, quit. Basically, along with a bunch of other people that had no further confidence in the ownership of DC Racing Solutions. That affects Prema not just in IndyCar, which is, it's bad. It also affects Prema in all the other shit that it does. The things that it built its reputation on. Junior Formula Racing, open wheelers in Europe.
Titletown.
The Iron Dames is dead. By all accounts as well.
They're not dead. Guys, they're running Iron Dames branding on a bunch of co-ed cars, and plus they've got an equestrian program. Isn't that great? I want to jump out the window.
It's not great. Iron Dames, as we know it, is dead. I saw the news the other day that Rahal Frey has become a driver coach and removed all the Iron Dames branding out of her Instagram bio, which is pretty much the last major sign left that Iron Dames is effectively dead. Which is really saddening because they've been the torchbearers of women in motorsport, in my opinion, for the last half decade plus. And sadly, they've been scaled back as a circumstance, which is doubly sad when the person that was running them is also a woman, and she was also throwing money at the wall and seeing what was sticking in just really bad business practices. And as a result of some of that, they're no longer around. It's just doubly saddening, in my opinion, that, we've spoken before on this pod that we're going to have to lose some money and have someone really commit to this to have any real presence in the state of motorsport. That was the best we had, and it's gone. And that sucks across the board. And it's for what we
talked about it. Someone's going to have to be comfortable with losing a lot of money in the short term. And
Deborah was the only one that was prepared to do that. And she ran out of money.
Yeah. Given the state of the world right now, that is just not going to be viable for anyone.
No.
And the proof is in the pudding right now, and it really sucks. It really just sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it a little bit in the IMSA preview. Callum Ilott had a full-time IMSA program to kind of hedge his bets, where if both these deals go through, he will be very busy. And if this Prema thing falls through, at least he's got something to fall back on. Supposedly, they're trying to raise funds to keep the team afloat. There's been rumors that they would sell the equipment and the operations to whom we don't know. It means that 2 Chevrolet engine leases for a lot of events would be up for grabs. The best case scenario for Prema showing back up is they'll be back at Long Beach, but that means we won't be seeing them for another month.
Yeah, at best, they've missed the deadlines with their 2026 engine leases, which sets a whole series of dominoes in effect. And talk about the elephant in the room here. They were running as the only unchartered cars. Whoever would be willing to pick up the tab and run that team and equipment also has to be comfortable with whipping money down a black hole, because they are not getting subsidized to be here.
I've said this for some time. The moment we saw what Marshall Pruitt, and I quite like how he nicknamed it, the 3, 22, 25, 27 system, when it came to the charters and its implementation, we all knew what the elephant in the room here was, that Prema were going into IndyCar with basically no major way of making money unless they won the 500, which was always going to be a miracle, essentially.
Robert Schwartzman getting the pole was their miracle.
Yeah.
And even that didn't really generate any big sponsorship for them long term.
They cut one check for $100,000 for taking the pole award, and that was really about it. Pardon me, sorry.
$100,000 is not that much in the big 26 when it comes to anything top flight motorsport.
And what we know through it now is that they were living hand to mouth pretty much since that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
they were prepared to lose a lot of money. Deborah Mayer was prepared to spend a lot of money making the Iron Dames work, and now that money is gone, DC Racing Solutions as a whole was willing to spend an exorbitant amount of money to make this work as a non-chartered program. Oh, man.
Allegedly $50 million a year.
That doesn't seem like a lot of money compared to the budgets of Formula One teams, but $50 million could save a lot of our life's problems. Let me tell you.
That's still a third of an F1 team's yearly cap. That's over that. It's near a 40%. That's a lot of cash.
Not all that long ago, that was like an F1 minnow budget. That was about half of what Toyota was spending on a given year in LMP1 when they first rejoined.
And that's with no real way of making that money back. I said from the start they were dead on arrival. I said it last year when they were coming in. My first thought was, how the hell does anyone make money doing this, especially when running a two-car IndyCar team is about 9-10 million a year at the thinnest possible level when we're talking bare bones budget for a two-car team.
Trey. You don't.
Yeah, like they were DOA. Call it what it is. They were DOA, and IndyCar had no plans to expand its grid. The way they scheduled the charter system meant that they really wanted a 25-car grid. Call it what it is. They didn't want 27 cars on the grid, because if they did, they would have chartered them. And instead, they gave those two charters to the manufacturers. Don't get me wrong, probably the right move in the grand scheme of things if that was the plan all along. But it also...
But it wasn't. That's the thing. That wasn't the plan all along. That was a last desperate throw of the dice to tell Honda, please don't leave. We can change.
But that's just the thing. If that was the emergency get out of jail free card by throwing them charters, it says to me that IndyCar did not want Prema on the grid at all, because they were like, you're on your own. You get no leader circle money. You get no charter to financially maneuver within IndyCar with it. You're on your own, Jack.
And the only way they would have gotten a charter is if one of the entrants had sold. And if Dale Coyne Racing, as hamstrung as they've been over the last few years, doesn't feel like selling, it's so tough, man.
IndyCar protected everyone inside the house, and everyone outside was left to freeze. And in this case, Prema, they showed up, had one really, really good day, but otherwise they were always up against it.
Yeah, my sympathies go to anyone and all that's lost a job as a result of this or is in job instability. I've been there many a time. It's a shitty place to be, mentally, financially, you name it. It's rough. I hope they can find a way to still run, but their prospects look pretty bleak at the moment. So as it stands right now, as of February 18th, because we're recording this, we have 25 cars on the grid. It should be 27, but here we are. Best of luck to all involved at Prema, and those who have been affected, I hope they land on their feet.
There's a sale. We'll let you know what happens, but here's the ones we got. Well, starting with Dale Coyne Racing, which has finally completed its lineup after a lot of delays announcing who was going to be in the second seat. It totally doesn't have anything to do with any transfer of money with any certain new backers. No whatsoever. That's not what happens. Well, at least it might be fun this year.
Look, on paper, this is actually quite a fun lineup for Dale Coyne. You've got the long-confirmed Dennis Hauger, which we knew at the end of last year, coming up as 2025 Indy next season champion. Very talented young man. And making his return to IndyCar after a year on the shelf last year, Romain Grosjean is back, who was hanging around. He was Prema's reserve driver last year. He was a part of the big team photo shots. He made it very clear he wanted to find a way to get back on the grid. And he has. He's in the number 18 car. Sadly, it's a Bitcoin car because it's Todd Olds. What the hell did you expect?
Hate it here. Hate it in these streets.
Yeah, the transfer. Apparently, it's really hard to transfer funds in a crypto wallet, so no wonder it took so long to get that ironed out and confirmed. Look,
just imagine withdrawing those funds. Thankfully, we don't know anybody in the sport that would have this problem.
No.
Yeah. It is a good driver lineup on paper. I mean, Hauger comes in having done his 1 year of Indy Nets. He was the dominant force in that series. The first half of the year.
6 wins. Yeah.
6 wins in 14 rounds. Took his foot up the gas a little bit, had the one DNF at Laguna Seca, but otherwise he was by far and away the strongest driver in that championship, doing what you'd expect. If Porsche had room for him, he'd probably be one of their factory contracted drivers. Instead, he's going to race at Dale Coyne, where the expectations are kind of, you relax. You just kind of learn on the job with minimal pressure on you to go out there and be a race winner, a podium challenger, title contender right off the bat.
You're racing for Coyne. Quite frankly, Leader's Circle would be a great accomplishment for either one of their cars.
100%, because even with them chartered, that is a team that has been living hand to mouth for a long, long time.
Yeah. The good news is as well is that we're looking like we're not going to get a bum day for the 500. I'd be surprised if we did. And that's great news because they've had one car bumped from the 500 for the last 2 years in a row. Nolan Siegel in 2024 and, of course, Jacob Abel last year. If you don't get a bump day, which I think is looking quite likely given the entry list, that in itself is a plus. You're in the money. That is a big guarantee to make the show that they didn't have before with both their cars. Assuming that the lineups hold up. Like I said, I think this is a very fun team. I think Dennis Hauger is a very talented young driver, former Formula 3 champion. Didn't quite work out in F2. There's no shame in that, quite frankly, because F2 is where decent talent goes to die, quite frankly. So it's the common sense move to go to the United States now. There's no reason why he can't make a foothold in it. And you got to remember, Dale Coyne now has an Andretti technical alliance. This is interesting because Marcus Ericsson is in a contract year. I feel like this might be an audition for how I'm going to take the 28 seat next year if he's good. I think there's a real opportunity there for Hauger if this all works out. I think the pathway is, very similar to David Malukas, which we'll talk about later, and how he ended up in a Penske, basically. So I think there's a lot to like about Hauger. And I think as long as he doesn't stuff it half a dozen times and gets a couple of really nice results in there, which is more than doable at Dell, because we saw it with Venus VK last year. On a good day, they were batting top 5. They got a podium last year in Toronto. We all know what Dale's good at. Alternate strategies. So,
sometimes they turn out well, sometimes they don't.
But Dale will roll the dice. I still love his phrase last year at the end of the 500 where he went, quote, "Have you ever played 5-dimensional chess with yourself?" Which I still think is one of the greatest lines.
Which is supposedly a product of them not being able to pay Honda on time for their engines.
Oh, dear God.
So
how very Dale. Oh boy!
This is how they've been as the last of the true independents for some time now. It still blows my mind that this is the last team left standing that came over in the reunification of 2008. They outlived Forsythe, they outlived Newman Haas, they outlived all those other teams.
They're the last. They're the last champ car soldier standing.
Romain Grosjean being back is interesting because the last time he was in a Dale Coyne car in 2021, he was really good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Very, very, very good. Sadly, a refugee of the now paused, until further notice, Lamborghini SC63 program.
Yeah, he was good there. The thing that gives me pause, though, is that Romain Grosjean will be 40 later this year. He's
Don't
39
say that.
now.
That feels weird.
That does feel weird.
And do we know if this team is definitively as good as it was 5 years ago when Romain Grosjean was challenging for the odd podium here and there in the 51
I would argue
car?
that is a hard no. And I don't even think that's necessarily all on them. I think just the total level at the back end of IndyCar is much higher now. And Coyne, depending on the environment, has really not kept up with that standard.
To add on top of that as well, the real reason that Grosjean lost his seat wasn't necessarily because of his ability, Andretti, either. It was the fact he lost his temper a lot. More... I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to break this down because also I'm not professionally trained to be able to do so. But I do fear that if results don't go his way, is Grosjean going to lose his head like he did when he was Andretti and piss off the wrong people?
Because there is kind of this feeling like, right, this is probably my last chance to make an impression on the IndyCar grid.
That's valid. I just don't know how it's going to work out. If things are in the shit, if we do get a bump day and Grosjean's at risk of not making the show, is he going to keep his head screwed on? That's what worries me.
If he wants to stay in IndyCar, he probably doesn't have a choice. I mean, you don't have the expectation, the weight of expectation like you do with Andretti. Look, the man went to Andretti to go fight for wins and championships. Due to a variety of reasons, some on him, some not, that didn't happen. But I do hope that Grosjean can have a little bit of a rebirth year because when he was good in IndyCar, he was as fast as anybody here.
Yeah.
He really should have a couple wins in this series. It sound familiar from his time in F1.
Sounds very familiar. But that's Dale Coyne in a nutshell for you. Probably the bottom end of the grid. We'll have to see how it plays out. But it is, in my opinion, their best driver lineup since Grosjean was here the last time. And that's a plus. Like we said that DCR needed stability. It still might not have it because both these guys could be one and done.
These cars are sponsored by Bitcoin. There goes the stability right there.
Good luck.
As long as we are not having new rules written against the team due to how many drivers they cycle through, that's probably a good thing for them.
Yeah, they needed the stability. What the results are going to look like, we don't know. At least the pressure will be low. Where did Rinus VeeKay go? He's at Juncos Hollinger Racing, which has him and has Stingray Robb. Stingray Robb is also back. Did you ask for it? No. Are you getting it? Yes. Juncos did not want to have two paying seats, and I appreciate that they didn't, because if they came into a season in 2026 with Stingray Robb and Jacob Abel, I would have said, hand the charters to Prema now. But that didn't happen.
That is that picture of I ran out of Alfredo, so I used mayonnaise and cheddar cheese. I hope this made your credit score go down. That's what that driver lineup would have been.
Oh,
as nice as those two are, no.
Yes,
but thankfully we're not having to talk about that.
Yes, it's. I think I've said this every year for the last 2 or 3 years on these season previews. Will someone please take a chance on Rinus VeeKay that isn't a bottom end team? I really like Rinus VeeKay as a driver and as a talent, but it's like he never quite does enough where a big team takes a punt on him. And we're talking about a guy that's only 26 years old, I think, and he's won a race in this series. And I really like him. But it's like every time he keeps testing the free agency market, because apparently he was desperate to get out of Dale Coyne when he was there. His parents were apparently like, get out of there. Shit's bad. But every time he's tested the free agency waters, no big hitter has come in for him. And I really think that somebody should have done by now, and it's not quite happened yet. And that's really annoying because he's a very, very talented all-round driver, and it's just not quite worked.
The problem becomes like he's an outsider looking in, and teams like Penske, as we know, have enacted their succession plans, seemingly entirely via self-inflicted car crash. But same over at Andretti, Ganassi has their 2 main people, and then one guy who's just there for some fun. It's hard to see like where he was going to go up. Now, as day like 2 years in, Rinus VeeKay hater. The man's talent is not the problem.
It's fourth in Barber. It's second in Toronto with Dale Coyne Racing. Now,
he
second
was ripping
of course,
miracles out of the car last year.
Yeah, it was, of course, after the highly regarded Michael Cannon rejoined the team as a strategist, but like, Rinus can drive. And the thing that interests me about this is that he's going to Juncos Hollinger Racing, where Connor Daly, who always goes well at Indy, really put it a shift at the 500. And when he was at Ed Carpenter Racing, Rinus VeeKay was always quick enough to qualify up at the sharp end of the field, run up at the front, cause some trouble for Alex Palou, which Cam has never gotten over, but not even Rinus VeeKay at Dale Coyne Racing was going to save that situation.
I'd go one further. Connor Daly was top 10 in every oval race last year but one. Like, he was
a missing right rear wheel weight away from having a legitimate shot at the 500 last year.
Yeah,
I think Rinus VeeKay is a 500 contenders back on the menu.
Absolutely. Juncos were an excellent oval team last year. Genuinely excellent on ovals. That is worth something in IndyCar. That makes you a 500 contender. And that is worth a lot of cash. That could come in handy, especially if Ricciardo is adamant about not wanting to rely on pay drivers anymore, because he tried to wriggle out of Stingray Rob's contract. He couldn't do so. Peter Rossi made it very clear, who is SRR's agent, that he had a 2-year deal on the table, and we're going to exercise that 2 years, whether you like it or not. And
everybody disliked that. That is like the most notable thing I can say about Stingray Rob. He's here.
He's here. He does a lot of good money for the dogs. He loves the dogs. We like that about him. He loves the dogs. It's something. But he's slow as dog shit. There's no getting around it. It's his third year in the series. There's been little to improvement. There's very little to note about Stingray Rob on track. He's there. He's there, and we just got to accept that, really, at this point. And that's just who he is. And until that contract expires, he's just going to be here. And yeah, it is what it is. It's a good team.
It's a good team. And I can imagine after the passing of Ricardo Juncos Sr. over the offseason that Juncos Hollinger Racing will want to come into this season wanting to post big results coming out of the bots. I'm really looking forward to see what Rinus VeeKay does. And hopefully, if he performs well all season long, maybe that is what pushes him up the upper echelons.
The VeeKay has potential for a top 10 championship run, which would be huge for Juncos.
They only have one podium so far in their IndyCar contender so far.
Yeah, I think a top 10 is viable if it all comes to plan. I really do. Hope they can get it with him, because Rinus deserves a top-end opportunity. I think he's the best midfielder on the grid that hasn't had the shot in a top-end car yet, and I'd like to see him get that chance.
Well, we haven't talked about some of the young guys at the Nets team, though, because it's time to talk about Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Graham Rahal is back for his 20th season of Premier American Open Wheel Racing. I want to scream.
Year 20 for Graham Rahal.
This is not because like Graham Rahal is a nepotism hire or anything like that, but because it's just like the passage of time is bullshit. But
remember, friends, he was not that long ago Honda's best championship. What do you mean it was 11 years ago?
Oh, God. That was the first year I watched IndyCar that Graham Rahal was a legitimate title contender.
Yeah, but you have to remember it was just yesterday, though, that Graham Rahal was a loose wheel away from potentially challenging for the Indy 500 victory. What do you mean that was 5 years ago? Okay, but we're bearing the lead here because they also have Louis Foster, last year's Rookie of the Year, pole winner at Road America, and they've also got Mick Schumacher. He's here.
Yes, unfortunately, in regards to this team and their lead driver and the Washington, D.C. race, doing tricks on it, riding the meat clean off that thing and still walking among us.
I've never heard that phrase, riding the meat clean off this thing.
I'll send you the thing that gave me that meme later on.
Hey, did you see that they got 45 and 47 as their numbers to pay homage? No, it's because Mick Schumacher. It's a terrible
number 47?
coincidence. Yeah, but Schumacher's number was 47.
What is there to say about this team that we haven't already said for the last few years? They have one stronghold per year. They are absolutely cracked incredible at the Indianapolis road course. Conversely, they are so bad on ovals, specifically Graham Rahal bringing back the same chassis every year, that there's times where you don't think they're even going to qualify.
This is a team that needs something to stop the skid. Because I've said it before, Graham Rahal has finished lower in the championship than the year before 6 years running. He looks demotivated. He looks like someone who doesn't want to be there right now. And I don't think he's walking away from that team. He's had opportunities, he's had offers to. He's been loyal to his father's team the whole way through. I don't think he's walking anywhere, but he's getting worse and worse year on year, and I don't like it with Graham. I don't think he can sink much lower than 19th last year in points. I'd be shocked if he did, because Graham is better than that, and I think he was unlucky last year to be as low as 19th. He definitely was. If I was power ranking the series, he was not 19th on my list. I can guarantee you that. He was definitely better than that last year. It's just... they need results. They need something to hang their hat on. I'll give you a prime example. Louis Foster, as you mentioned, was pole sitter at Road America. He beat Alex Palou straight up in that third quarter position to take that pole position. He was hit with a poor start and he got an anchor fall on his head immediately. They need something. They need a spark. Mick Schumacher might be that spark, but IndyCar rookies tend to struggle.
With the mere exception of Takuma Sato at the 500, it has been real fucking bad.
Yeah, for some time.
And
for half a decade now.
And even if Honda's giving Takuma Sato all the good engines, RLL needs all the help they can get in that department, dog. I don't give a shit, dude.
Yes, which, again, is just a casual little whiff of xenophobia on the part of Graham Rahal. But also, Takuma Sato sets his cars up like, if I crash, I crash.
Jay Fry, president of this team. He's been there for a year now. I've seen no tangible improvement. They need to do something. Something drastic.
I think it's more than a year process. I think every inch of their technical process behind the scenes needs to go. I've been saying that for years. Graham Rahal keeps trying to bring back the same car he was competitive with a few years ago at Indy, and it keeps being awful, and they keep doing it. Well, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and it doesn't work, what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same shit over and over and putting a different outcome.
So what do we expect?
That's what RLL feels like.
What are we going to expect out of Mick Schumacher? Because we know when Mick Schumacher was at a straggler in Formula One for 2 years, on his best days, he was the quickest driver in that team, and it wasn't even close. On his worst days, he was racking up a crash bill so big that even though he was marginally quicker than Kevin Magnussen over the course of the season, Haas couldn't justify keeping him on the books after 2 seasons.
Make the leader circle. Make the leader circle, and if there's a bump day, don't get bumped. That would be the minimum for me.
Is that going to be an acceptable standard for a second-generation Schumacher, a driver with that high a profile?
It's an acceptable standard for a IndyCar rookie who has shown that, anywhere he's been, he does take time to adapt, but once he does, he's solid. He was good. He was good to solid in WEC last year due to the and will now be in a at some point we got to talk about Alpine leaving WEC. Not on this podcast, but dear God.
We got to talk about Alpine in general.
I agree with Dre. Don't get bumped if there's a bump day. if you can get into leader circle, great. I just don't know if RLL is going to be good enough to do that on merit.
Also, Dre, they re-signed Louis Foster on a 3-year extension because they were so worried another Christian Lundgaard situation was going to happen to them again.
And the funny thing is that as much as I am Louis Foster's strongest soldier, I've talked about how great the kid was from this first year in Indy Next. He's not Christian Lundgaard. And I love me some Foster. I really do. He's not CL. And Lundgaard was a race winner in this team who was banging on the door of top 10 in points overall. Like, he was the spark in the RLL roster before he went to McLaren. He went to McLaren and he immediately vindicated the move by being as good as he was. Lundgaard's now a top 6 driver in this series. I'm not sure if Foster's ceiling is that high. I think it's more a move of, he's a good young talent. Let's keep him long term and use him as our project. Because how much longer is Graham going to do this with 2 little girls at home? I don't know. And look, Mick Schumacher, his reputation is not great in racing circles, i.e., bit of a diva, according to the people you ask. I wonder if Mick's going to be here long term if this doesn't work out. I know he was desperate to get back in a single-seater and he did not want to be in Alpine's wet program. He really did not want to be there. But
in hindsight.
Which is funny because, like, he was good enough at it to where if he wanted to stick around in it, he could. Imagine if he was, like, actually a big fan of doing this and, like, look, everyone say, oh, but he had new tires every time he got in the car. Yeah, you still have to do something with the new tires you're given, pal.
He was fast. He was very faster than Alpine. That was not the issue. He was allegedly telling everybody he knew he didn't want to be there. He was desperate to drive a single-seater. I don't know if he's here for the long haul. And that's my concern about Mick, is that if things don't work out, is he going to throw a tantrum and leave? Because he's done that in every major series he's raced in since he got from F2. That's what we're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm not sure if Mick's going to be around long term. You need a staple banker dude. Louis Foster might be that guy. And I think he's a very solid driver.
I think Foster will improve over the course of the season.
He's better than
We've already seen it. I think we've already seen him improve markedly.
And I don't think he'll throw some ridiculous, hellacious block at Nashville that almost cost him Rookie of the Year honors.
Yeah, we shall see. Next up, Ed Carpenter, a retained lineup from last year. ECR, number 20, Alex Rossi for 15th last year. Number 21, Christian Rasmussen in the 21 car. He was 13th last year. As mentioned earlier, Ed Carpenter will take the bonus 33 car just for the 500. Is it just me? And this might be a bit of a hot take from my standings. This is a team that had a lot of hype going into 2025. They had Ed sell half his charter to bring in Splendor Daddy. I hate that phrase, but I'm going to... So I got off, it's not a phrase I'm proud of, but here we are. They brought him in. They raised a boatload of cash. They brought in Alex Rossi as the big name sign-in and ended up about what they were last year.
But they won a race.
They did win. They won a race.
So that's been in 4 years.
Yes. It did take a literal act of God, but they got one on the board.
Now, is that enough for a team that was 15th and 13th overall last year? Because that's about where ECR have been for the last 3-4 years, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's about where they've been. And to Cam's point about Jay Fry coming in and being RLL's new president is not going to be a quick fix in like a couple of weeks. That's probably the same with this Ted Gelov investment.
Yeah.
However, I will say that for Alexander Rossi, it can't be this again. Alexander Rossi will turn 35 this year. He is now getting to the age where, like, unless you are Scott Dixon and Will Power, people are going to perceive you as over the hill. It has now been several years since you have been the best all-around driver in the series for about 2.5 years now.
He's looked over the hill since they put the aero screen on these things.
He was towards the back end of his time at Andretti and the 2 years he was at McLaren. He was a fringe top 10 guy, like 9th, 10th in the standings. He's dropped to 15th last year. Now, I think a little bit of a drop was natural. ECR and not McLaren. I think that's understandable. But you don't throw 7 figures at Alex Rossi as your big marquee new signing. Remember, you dumped Rinus VeeKay for this man, who was 14th in points in 2024, for a guy who finished 1 place lower than him the first year he was in the team. You don't throw big money at a guy to finish 15th in points. You don't. Period.
The elevator didn't go up. In that regard. And we didn't see what he could bring to the 500 because I thought that was a signing to get Ed Carpenter to win the Indy 500, and he was the first retirement instead. And now I'm starting to think that Christian Rasmussen might be the guy to give Ed Carpenter his first win at the Indy 500 as a car owner. Because, I mean, holy damn.
Well, Rasmussen was box office for great and not so great reasons for all of last year. He was either putting on insane, spectacular moves on people, or trying to crash the car with no one around him. Sometimes failing, sometimes not.
The positive side of that is he was 3rd in the series for points scored on ovals last year, including the win at Milwaukee and the podium finish in Gateway. He was a revelation on ovals last year. Genuinely an elite level oval runner in this series, which honestly, I did not expect, because all the talk of Rasmussen was he was a road and street track guy. This was
they only gave him a road and street course contract because that was the terms of his first deal. And had they probably looked at his Indy Lights and Indy Next results, they realized, hang on a minute, why don't we just give him Iowa and Gateway too?
Like, when he was in Indy Next, he was a tire shredder on ovals. None of this development made sense. But it seemingly worked out in the end, where it's like, oh, hang on, we might have an oval ringer here, which that's something ECR's always been good at with Rinus VeeKay. So this might actually work out in their favor in the end, even if it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
He needs to keep...
Right.
I need him at he's at an 11, I need him at an 8. That's what I would generally describe Christian as, because we also saw the bad side of it at Portland last year, where he completely lost his head. And that is something that you cannot do at a professional level, single-seat racing. I know Conor Daly I still think Daly was the bigger person to blame in all of that incident, but Christian played his role in that too. And he needs to be better on road and street tracks, especially given we know how good he is in an LMP2 car.
Right, like, exactly. He had a Rolex watch before he ever proved himself in an IndyCar.
Genuinely might be the best LMP2 driver on the planet. That is not an exaggeration.
Oh boy, I mean that is a scorching take for a guy that only does this once a year.
But he's a killer at Daytona in an LMP2 car. It happens. He's the B-pillar king. It happens all the time. It's weird as hell.
When he breathes that Daytona air, like if they raced at Daytona, if they raced at the Daytona road course, this would be like RLL at the Indy road course.
Yes, it could very well be. We'll have to wait and see. But this team needs to get a car in the top 10 for what it is. I think with the amount of cash they've thrown at this, with the new ownership and with the big name signings and the upside guy in Christian Rasmussen, they've got all the resources now to be what I think the team 2 down our list is, and that's Meyer Shank Racing. There's no reason why they can't be that team, in my opinion. Yeah. And they need to start actually writing out the checks, because they've talked a lot of shit. They've got a podcaster on there, and they've got a guy with a lot of upside. They need to actually cash this in, because like I said, no one is here for this team finishing 13th and 15th in the points. That's mid. And they should not be mid for the amount of cash they freed up, quite frankly.
You're right, but at the same time, the teams in front of them are in the way of that.
That's always the tricky thing. They have not had a top 10 driver in the standings since some guy named Joseph was fourth for them in 2016, including a win in Iowa with a broken collarbone.
Yeah, but again, like, they've not had a driver anywhere near on Newgarden's talent level since, which, Newgarden, well, at least for a good chunk of his time in IndyCar, was arguably the best driver in the series, all around.
Friend of the show and former guest Edwin Hamilton brings up an interesting point. Since Ed Carpenter's sponsor for the 500 is Slim Fast, is he now Slim Daddy?
Get the hell out of here, Ed.
AJ Foyt Racing.
Yes.
Foyt Racing. They're back with the aforementioned Penske Technical Alliance. Santino Ferrucci is back. Kyle Collette is the David Malukas replacement. Kyle Collette, last year's IndyNet's runner-up, and everybody say it with me, Alpine Academy Common Success. Because he was part of the program. And then he wasn't. And then he came to America and has now made it to IndyCar to become the latest in a rapidly depleting line of full-time drivers in IndyCar from Brazil. Like, that used to be just a pipeline that you thought would never end, and now it's slowed down to a trickle.
AJ Foyt's in a really weird place right now. And I say this because, again, they are genuinely good now. Like, even they lost. Like, the thing is, right? They lost Michael Cannon to Dale Coyne last year, right? We all know the stories, right? And
well, first they lost him to Prema, and then Prema lost him to Dale Coyne.
Right. And the thing is that David Malukas still had his best year in IndyCar last year, where he was 500 runner-up and finished 11th in the points. That's a really solid season. Like, it's
got him a Penske ride.
And Santino Ferrucci the year before that was 9th in the points. It was the breakout year that we all... Oh, okay, I wouldn't say all, but I know a lot of people were hoping Ferrucci would have a season that good, and he actually delivered in 2024. So now we know, on a blueprint level, that AJ Foyt can be a top 10 level team. We've got the evidence. They've been around there for the last 2 years. They've been a 500 threat for a good while now, and they're now actually pretty good all around the calendar. So Ferrucci finishing 16th last year is unacceptable, quite frankly, because that's a big slide.
Yeah. They lost, proving all of the doubters, the haters, the naysayers absolutely right, because he was still about his typical level on road courses of solid, but nothing that will blow you away. The ovals, he just wasn't all that spectacular at. And comparison to the previous year, where with the 500, he looked like a legit contender down the stretch. He just wasn't really a factor in last year's 500.
But he was the first driver to finish with a top 10 in his first 7 500 starts. It was the quietest 5th place finish you will ever see. And paradoxically, in a year that he had a step back, he also had a first podium in Detroit, a second podium at Road America, where everybody loves him because he's doing Stone Cold at the crowd. And then after that, he has
not much.
He's scratched from the grid at Toronto due to an accident before the race. He's 8th in Iowa and Nashville.
He's beefing with people in practice for no reason.
This is kind of just what he is. And I know he looked at Kyle Collette's new sponsor, Combitrans. He looked at that last word and he passed out like Tony Soprano looking at Uncle Ben. But in all seriousness,
imagine being so racist you look at Uncle Ben and you pass out.
Oh, that's
trans people existing does nothing negative to your life, you crybaby bitches.
Tony Soprano. I think I was almost going to say the racism is the worst part about him. Never mind the murder.
No. We do not have, we nor the entire discography of this podcast do not have enough time to expand on that.
No.
Woke up this morning.
Yes. I don't know what to think of AJ Foyt, because it's like, you have a lot of ingredients for a really good meal here, and last year it turned out exceptionally mid.
Yeah. And the thing is, right, like I said, Maluka. This team had a lot of surprisingly good results. Like I said, like RJ talked about that hot streak that Ferrucci got on in the middle of last year, when a month of May and then into June a little bit with Road America, he was hotter than fish grease, and then it all just went back to mediocrity for the rest of the year, outside of maybe Milwaukee. This is going to be, I think, year 7 for Santino Ferrucci in IndyCar as a full timer. What is he in IndyCar at this point? Because
I think he's just a solid upper midfielder that'll run well at the 500. He's Connor Daly with not as much height, not as good a Pokemon card collection.
Carpenter Racing.
Yeah,
he is Ed Carpenter Racing compressed into a man.
He's in the weird place that right now he is nowhere near as good enough as the people who want him to be a success want him to be, but he's clearly better than the dumpster fire that his haters want him to be either. He's neither of those things. Like, he's had too many good results in IndyCar to call this a fluke now. He is a genuinely great oval driver with occasional flashes of excellence on road and street courses. But is that enough for AJ Foyt when David Malukas beat his ass last year? That was Ferrucci to a degree being exposed, because I think Ferrucci had a genuine chance of getting a Penske seat last year. If he beats Malukas, he puts himself in the shop window. And he didn't. He got smoked.
I think Malukas was destined for that seat. And even in last year, it's like, well, he's getting these results for AJ Foyt, but really he's getting them as the audition to Penske.
Yeah.
And he successfully did so.
Yeah.
I think Ferrucci is a bit too much of a loose cannon outside the cockpit to fit into the Penske mold there. I guess we'll see what happens with that. I feel like for what they should be expecting, or for what they need to do, pretty much copy paste with Ed Carpenter Racing. This kind of set of 3 here, you're trying to go and punch up at the big 3 ahead of you. Really, the big 4 with McLaren.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. I think for what it's worth, I think Kaya Cadet's absolutely fine. I think he walked into Indy next, and I think he was very solid right from the start.
Yeah.
He's never really put a foot wrong in that series. He was an occasional winner, was pretty much he treated the top 3 like it was the floor. Pretty much, all the way in his time in next. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah. And, I think, depending on how closely he matches Ferrucci, that makes the aforementioned discussion we just had a bit more interesting. I'm not expecting him to post the same results as David Malukas, but give us something that gives us a little bit more confidence that this won't end up the way it did for Matthias Leist a few years ago.
They have expectations now, and they should do after the last couple of years. They're a team that can get on the podium on legitimate merit, and they're good enough to be in the top 10 overall. That is a way better AJ Foyt than we've known them in the last decade. They've taken a genuine step in the right direction. They've got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Next up, Meyer Shank Racing. And honestly, I haven't got too much to say about them because it all went really well last year.
Yeah.
Felix Rosenqvist was in the 60 car. He was 6th in points. Love me some Felix. And 66, Marcus Armstrong, big improvement, 8th overall in points. It was right behind Felix in the stand. It was very close in that portion of the table last year. There isn't really a lot to say because they've kept their lineup for this year. It's Rosenqvist and Armstrong again.
Armstrong's root car is giving big Comtech Acura vibes with the white and orange. It's very nice.
It is. Look, this is just a really good team. It's just a really solid, all-round good team with no major weaknesses. The Chip Ganassi alliance has been really good for them.
Oh, yeah.
They've more or less turned into kind of like a pair of Ganassi affiliates that pretty much are going to go and back the Ganassis up, and pretty much be right behind them on track. They were a pretty consistent best of the rest last year.
Yeah, they were the best midfield team in IndyCar, comfortably.
Oh, and it wasn't particularly close because of how close those two were. They would just go out, and if you needed a top 10, they'd get you a top 10. If you needed a top 5, maybe one of them will get you a top 5.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that happened a fair few times last year. The only thing missing, really, is a win. They've not won a race since Helio's 500 win in 2021. I think it's doable. Felix has always been quick enough to be able to pull that off on a really good day. And Armstrong,
what positions does Felix Rosenqvist have that he hasn't yet converted into victories?
I think he's got 3 or 4. Felix. He's like on over a lap.
Charles Leclerc.
Over a lap, he's stupid fast. Like he's one of the 3 or 4 fastest guys in IndyCar on raw pace. But like he's never been able to convert it into race results until this year. But I really like Felix as a driver. We've always been fans of him here on M101 because he's just been a good dab hand at everything he puts his mind to. And he's one of the real likable guys of the series. He accepted our golden cock a couple of years ago as well when he was at McLaren. We like Felix here.
When when McLaren was trying to run him out on a rail after one bad year at McLaren, he has really found something that really works for him, Meyer Shank. It's like him being back at Ganassi, except Chip doesn't have to cut him a check every month.
No, and Marcus Armstrong has really improved. He was excellent on ovals last year.
Third at Iowa,
there was I think there was a good run in the middle of last year where Armstrong had like 7 top 10s in a row. Like the guy has turned into a really. I said it a couple of years ago. I said Armstrong was a really good all rounder, and I think he was going to grow into a top 10 guy, and he is that now. Just more of the same. The only thing missing is can he punch a win somewhere, maybe? Like
I would say, biggest thing, don't wreck a car and practice at the 500 because it's got their whole month of May back. They did recover. They did one of the best recovery jobs you'll probably see around getting a car put back together and then being competitive in the race. But still, with the nature of the 500, with how important all the practice time you can get is, and given how good Ganassi's package was last year, just all the way through the season, every type of track, if you run into that situation again, it's going to hurt all that much more. So cut out the mistakes here and there. There is no reason why they can't go fight for a 500 like they did in 2021.
There was once upon a time where the vibes at Meyer Shank Racing were not good. There was Deflategate, TPMS Gate. Simon Pagenaud had a career-ending injury. Back in the sim, though, good to see for Cadillac. And the IndyCar program is just kind of treading water. The vibes have changed immaculately to the point where we are almost certain that Meyer Shank Racing is going to get the Honda House car when it comes online with 2028. Who's going to drive it? Don't know, but I feel like going to a Los Angeles Bananas game. I think anything less than a winning season would be a disappointment. If they don't win a race this year, it should be considered a disappointment.
Best midfield team in IndyCar. One of the best teams in IndyCar now, period. No reason why they can't challenge on all fronts.
Go get Linus Lundqvist. Put the old Ganassi band back together.
Have him as the third driver. Have him as the factory Honda. That would be cool as shit. Very solid driver. Just never got a clean chance. Andretti.
Oh dear God.
Now this is
now we're in the
lineup.
Big Four.
Now we're into the big hitters. 26, 27, 28. Will Power, Kyle Kirkwood, and Marcus Ericsson.
Will Power in the 26 car is a cognito hazard.
What the fuck is that? Like, also
not just willpower, but the many faces of willpower. The willpower that'll walk your dog, the willpower that'll make your coffee, the willpower that'll flip you off in a traffic jam.
As Ed would say, willpower as a puppy brandishing a knife.
More or less. That's the big change. I mean, we'll talk about Kirkwood and Ericsson in a minute, but it's hard not to talk about Andretti without talking about Will Power in the 26. After 17 years at Team Penske, this is his first new team in quite a while. Man, he's made it very clear with the media. He's hungry. He's treated this like a revenge tour. And
Oh my.
he wants to still prove that he's as good as he's always been, which is amazing for a man who turns 45 in April. Like,
I don't know, man, because every time I've seen him get into a GT3 car, and I know, yes, these are different animals from Indy cars, but that's something new that Will's been trying. He did the Indianapolis 8-hour, and he did the Rolex 24, and every time he got behind the wheel of a Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, it was as if he was in the prime of his career at Penske, just wheeling that son of a gun. And I know not all of that is transferable into the IndyCar season up ahead. Look, I've joked about it many times. The Will Power Revenge Tour sounds like it's going to go great, but do you remember all the bad luck that Colton Herta had in this same car over the last few years? It may just be around the corner.
That pit crew will hear it, will see it via double bird if things go badly.
But I do think that Will Power will hold up his end of the bargain. Will that be enough to challenge as the top Andretti global driver when Kyle Kirkwood is with the team? Don't know. Kyle Kirkwood is starting to turn into the top prospect we all thought he'd be.
Yeah, the only person who could give Alex Palou anything to think about on a road course early in the season. Street course animal, very fast over a lap, very fast on the ovals as well.
Everything Ryan Eric King said about Kyle Kirkwood turned out to be true. He was fourth in the championship last year. He's gotten better every year he's been in IndyCar. Every weakness in his game, he's starting to patch up. He won an oval race last year. He won in Gateway. He's ticking off all the boxes that you would expect for someone that's coming up as a young prospect. It's hard to be a young driver and be successful in IndyCar. Kirkwood is ticking every box. For me, there's only one step left. You now need to try and win a championship because for the first half of last year, he was Alex Palou's main contender. That, for me, is proof that he can do it. He won 3 races last year. That should be the expectation again. Go win another 3. And I'll spoiler alert, I don't think Palou is going to put down a 700.8 win season again. Like, a lot of shit had to go right for that to happen. Like, there is opportunity here to give Palou and Palou Award the true, in my opinion, the 2 best drivers in IndyCar right now are bloody nose. He's good enough to do that. That should be the aim.
Yeah.
My question is whether Andretti are, because Andretti were a cacophony of errors last year. They had speed in the cars for what felt like the first time in a little bit, but they also had illegality scandal at the end of the 500, which bounced Ericsson out, and we'll talk about Ericsson in a minute. And they had pit error after pit error after pit error on the 26 car. They had strategic errors. They had mechanical issues. This team was like once the big foil to Penske and Ganassi. In recent years, they've been completely usurped by McLaren in that regard.
Yes.
They need to get back to something resembling their excellent selves. Marcus Ericsson, you are here for one reason and one reason only.
Win the 500.
Kick ass at the 500. You almost did, and then you very quickly didn't. Through no fault of your own.
20th in points last year. 20th in points.
And even with the 500 win, it wouldn't have improved it that much. And this is the thing that shows shocking. It's like Ericsson made this move because he didn't want to be a pay driver at Chip Ganassi Racing, which he'd earned off the merit of his results that he posted at Chip Ganassi Racing. Now, in the 2 years that he's been in Andretti, he's kind of regressed to what he was the 1 year at Schmidt-Peterson, what he was for a lot of the time in his 5 years in IndyCar. What he was a lot of the time in his 5 years in Formula One. Unremarkable.
It's sad.
That's just like
what happened. Like that's what I don't understand. Was the chip setup that good that it turned Ericsson into the illusion of a top 6 driver? Because he was 6th in the championship 3 years in a row with Chip Ganassi, and he won a 500 for them. And it didn't feel like a fluke when he won it.
Well, the thing with it was his bulletproof consistency is he would just go and rack up anywhere from 5th to 8th place pretty much consistently. The thing is, in that same year, Alex Palou was boots to ass almost every other weekend, and Scott Dixon was still as box office as they come. Since then, Ganassi had a year or two where they were just not as good as they have been. But since the Andretti move, there just has not been very much good here. What was good last year with Ericsson got struck off the board. He was beaten by Alex Palou with flames shooting out of his eyes. And then he got bounced from the 500 due to a bodywork irregularity.
I'm not sure what Marcus can do, and if it would be I'm not sure what the level would have to be for him to save his job and get a new contract.
Points minimum.
It has to be, hasn't it? It's got to be top 10.
With Kirkwood and Power next to you, with
Hauger on a trajectory
no
program to take your job in 2027.
Yeah,
let's say there's too many great drivers down the list here on lesser teams in stature than Andretti. For him to put up another 20th place in the points, someone will get that seat.
Mark Walter and Dan Tauris are not throwing all this money at a team that's named after somebody else to go out there and have a car finish 20th in the points.
No, not in the slightest. He's got to improve. He's got to get back to something near that top 6 level when he was at CGR, or else he's toast. They will just give Hauger a go, in my opinion, if he's anywhere near decent. Speaking of messy teams, Team Penske.
The proprietors of Blend Ghazi in days past. Now Tim Cindric unpunished.
Tim Cindric is back as Scott McLaughlin's race engineer. What the fuck?
Well, I love how this is put in the set list. Well, it can't be any worse than last year. Well, no, it could be. They could have gone winless despite their best efforts. They did punch in a win.
Two of them.
Two
of them.
Oh, yes.
Joseph won Nashville, and then some other
despite
guy...
their best efforts again, because they almost threw that race away again to Alex.
And there was also Portland, where Will Power won, and we were gonna... What do you mean we forgot to offer him a contract extension? What do you mean he was willing to rejoin us on a 2-year deal?
They quite literally forgot to re-sign their best driver last year.
Yeah. If you look at the championship positions of the 3 drivers in this team last year, you would think Team Penske was a midfield outlet.
You'd think they were AJ Foyt.
Because that's what they were. Like, Scott McLaughlin was 10th in points. Malukas knew he was 11th in a fight. And Newgarden was 12th last year. This was a team that cheated, had the Benghazi scandal at the 500, had 2 of their cars start from the back, very nearly won the 500 anyway with Newgarden before he suffered a fuel pump problem. They only won 2 races all year, and they forgot to sign their best driver. Objectively, Penske's worst season since 1999.
Huh?
And back then, they were on good years. They had an excuse. Scott McLaughlin, it felt like last year, had a cartoon anvil attached to a homing missile aimed at him at all times. Sometimes self-inflicted, sometimes not. Which was astounding when Scott McLaughlin was on speed. Now a genuine 3-tool driver could win on any type of track, as we put it.
He was a win a 500, and then he did his best Roberto Guerrero impression on the other side.
How many miles did he cover in that 500?
0.
-2.
-2. I don't know what to think of Penske going into this year, because last year was so ungradably messy.
It has to get better. It has to get better. You feel like it has to get better because it can't get much worse. Like
Joseph Newgarden, outside of short ovals and the 500, looked like a bum.
It's that something is fundamentally wrong with Joseph Newgarden on road and street courses. And I know you're the biggest Joseph fan I know, RJ, but even you have to admit something is wrong here.
The one great road course he had early in the year they accidentally ran him out of fuel.
Yeah, that's tough. I still think that driver's in him, but oh no. In these uncertain times, don't let Joseph Newgarden have such a bad season that Roger Penske has no choice but to release him and he could drive somewhere else. Oh, that would be so awful.
I'm pretty sure Newgarden's in a contract year this year.
Oh, that would be so bad, especially what with the letter that Roger wrote, our commander-in-chief. Oh, that would be so bad if I don't have to interface with that anymore. Although there's a problem.
I will say, after... Okay, 1 second here. RJ, are you actively asking for your star driver, Joseph Newgarden, to tank the year?
No, because I do still want him to win races. But I have a feeling that this relationship between Newgarden and Penske may run its course soon. I hope. I don't know, man.
He can't finish 12th again. If he finishes 12th again, he's done.
He can't finish 12th again. There's also
Elio Castroneves was shoved into a sports car seat for less than this. Simon Pagenaud was sacked for less than this.
Yeah.
My boy. How much it is genuinely Simon Pagenaud again. How much can being great at the 500 save your job when everything else is going terribly? Because last year,
the best driver at the 500 the last 3 years running.
Yes.
The problem is everything else being so bad for the last 3 years when he has to turn right. I mean, the Road America crash, man.
That was sad. That was the Mid-Ohio crash, where it's like, this is just so uncharacteristic of it. That was like a 4 out of 5 retirement skid, where it was just like, well, no, it wasn't all Joseph's fault. I will give him that. Mm-hmm. He was very unlucky in Gateway. We all saw the meme, and Will Buxton having to quickly shove a slice of pizza out of his mouth because of the sudden nature of him crashing from the lead.
All the discourse about him not talking to the media on his worst days, the flip over at Gateway. Like, I need a reset, because I think the Joseph Newgarden of old is still there, but he has had to come through the last few years with like all these resets in his technical department. And Ed brings up a good point. Yes, Tim Cindric's back at the team. He was Joseph's strategist until he was fired. Now he's with McLaughlin, a sign that Scott McLaughlin is now the ace of the team.
Which he should be.
Because McLaughlin was as good. It was terrific on ovals, not quite as good as Newgarden, but substantially better on road and street courses. The problem was, again, the homing missile cartoon anvil that kept hitting him seemingly anytime he was going to put a good day together. In Barber, he looked like he was going to have a good day. And then Alex Palou made that end very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the thing is, I'm less concerned about McLaughlin because I think his season was a lot more down to bad luck than outright regression in ability. Mm-hmm. But McLaughlin was a guy that had multiple picks to win the 500 here and win the championship. Thanks to me. But I had good reason to pick him last year. I don't care what you fuckers tell me. The thing
win a
is,
500, sure. Win a championship. I can't get there with you.
He didn't win it in 2024. He was within a race. Like,
he was within a race because Palou's team was just like, oh, we can't lose the championship now. Let's try something silly on strategy.
You got to admit, that is funny.
Even so, McLaughlin has been trajectorying until last year like a guy that can win anything. He's now the leader of this team. He's earned it, quite frankly. And according to Ed in our chat, he had first pick of bringing Cindric back, which again says a lot to me that he's now the leader of this team.
He's on point for your team.
That's not bad for a project driver.
Not anymore. Oh, he is the finished deal. You got to see more. It wasn't all on McLaughlin last year, but crashing 2 miles before the Indy 500 starts is about as down as you can get.
As a man who watched his
reputation, never recovered from that.
As a man who watched his video blogs last year, I sincerely hope his head's in the right place, because this is a guy who Look, I think Morton's a very likable man. I think he's a very funny, charismatic guy. He's exactly what IndyCar needs at the highest level. It needs a guy who doesn't take himself too seriously and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty from a marketing standpoint. I like McLaughlin a lot in that regard. What I will say with him is that I watched his video blogs last year. He's a guy that very much gets in his own head. He's very down on himself. He's very self-critical. Max in the chat says he reminds him of Lando, and I think that's actually a very apt comparison. He's very open and very honest about mental health and the struggles that comes when he has a bad day. I just hope he doesn't get too deep in his own head, because on his day, he's unbeatable. He's one of the few people that I can say can win any race on paper in IndyCar when he's fully applied, including Alex Palou. He's good enough where he can beat Palou on a good day. So I sincerely hope he just treats last year like a blip, because he's top 3 in IndyCar otherwise. That's how I look at him. One more question to ask. What is David Malukas going to be entering this environment?
The elephant in the room. The 12 car, for the first time ever, is not piloted by Will Power.
Yeah. That's interesting.
David Malukas. Well, the scary thing is David Malukas was right in the middle. It's, if you look at the championship results from last year, it's like, oh, the Penske's are all lined up with one another. He was 11th in the standings last year. Terrific speed on all three kinds of track. Terrific speed during the test as we speak. He has been very bad fast around Phoenix in his new equipment.
It's like he never made the change. And short ovals and super speedways have been his strongest suit since he stepped up to IndyCar a few years ago. I liken this move to, I can't take full credit, but somebody threw this out here. Liken this to Ryan Briscoe joining Penske back in 2008. Because
that's a great comparison.
It's a great
other
comparison.
than a year at Chip Ganassi where they had Toyota engines and no hope, Ryan Briscoe had, what was Ryan Briscoe's most memorable moment of that 2005 season? Oh, that Chicagoland crash where his car turned into a ball of fire and broke in half. And that was pretty much it.
That crash.
Yeah. But Ryan Briscoe was hired early in 2008 with very... I don't know what the expectations were, but he got a win by Milwaukee. Set 6 races in the season, 6 races into his season. He was 5th in the standings. And that year, where were Castro Neves? What I'm saying is that success is doable. Roger Penske would not have put in all that faith into his ability if he didn't see something. And he has the opportunity to do something very, very funny at the expense of Zach Brown, who, let's not forget, was too impatient to let him wait for his wrist to heal up and cut him. He was 3 places behind Helio Castroneves in the 2008 standings.
Which, considering Helio Castroneves in that era was an animal, and even then still had fantastic hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no reason why David Malukas can't immediately be on the level of the other two, because of, like, you don't get that at Penske. Usually they are the plan of succession at Penske is very long-winded. He had a great audition at Foyt. Go and prove it wasn't a fluke.
He should. I agree with Max in the chat. He should be an immediate 500 contender. On the higher end of the scale, top 6 in points. I think that should be the aim. Top
Both
6.
Are doable.
Both are doable. I think that's Penske. We expect them to challenge on all fronts. Top 6 would be, if we were content with Marcus Ericsson being a top 6 runner at Chip, we should be asking the same of David Malukas there. I think that's fair. McLaren.
I think that's all there.
Oh, speaking of Messi.
Hey, congratulations. You get to use Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou as your personal ATM for the next 3 years. So don't bitch about not having funding.
Congrats. I mean, on paper.
Still going to have a pay driver in that 6 anyway.
On paper, I think they might be the best team in IndyCar now. Genuinely,
Really?
as an all round team, I like this team a lot, except for the one obvious elephant in the room, which we'll get to. But like Palou Award, I was really impressed with Palou last year. Like he seemingly, in my opinion, turned a corner where he turned that ridiculous pace down from like a 12 to a 10, but he became a thinking man's driver. The win at Toronto was beautiful. It was a beautifully executed race. The way he beat Newgarden in Iowa was executed brilliantly. He's become, like, for me, the second best driver in the series. Like, he was good value for his runner-up spot last year. I think he would have had... Last year's Palou was a championship year if it wasn't for Alex Palou. It's just really unfortunate he ran into the best IndyCar season we've ever seen.
Yes, like we talked. He kept putting up pretty much the same number of points for like 3 years in a row, and he would always land in a similar area. Last year was better. The problem, he's got absolutely carpet bombed.
Because the big points were taken off the table half the season because of Alex Palou. The 515 he got last year was a marked improvement over a roughly 460, 470 he'd been at the last 3 years. But I think
someone dropped 700 on him.
That's the problem. Palou had Palou suffocated the point supply because he was so good. So, yeah, it's a championship year in all but name, in my opinion. And it was just on bad fortune that Palou ran into a truck. But
also not quite as much of it, like, not really a factor in the 500.
Not really.
He was good.
Yeah.
Very, very solid.
He has an excellent track record. When he finishes and qualifies for an Indy 500, he is one of the best drivers. The win is overdue. He will have his inevitable crash out if he doesn't win the 500 this year. But when he wins it, oh boy, that place is going to rock.
Yeah. He's to that effect. He has legitimate backup. Because Christian Lundgaard was a revelation last year.
I told you that boy was good.
He's very good.
I told you. I said a couple of years prior that I thought Lundgaard was destined for a top-end team.
So dogs agree.
Luckily, Riverside cuts out the background noise. If you can't, if you were in the live stream run, you could hear Cam's dogs going ballistic. It's quite funny.
They wanted to get on the cross-country skiing course.
Of course they did. Good
More
boys.
on Olympics 101 later.
But no, I was going to say, like, Christian Lundgaard was outstanding. He did everything but win last year. Multiple. I think I'm right in saying that I think he had 6 podiums last year, and I think all 6 had Alex Palou sharing that podium with him, which is just hilarious.
And you would be right.
Yeah, because Alex Palou treated anything off the podium as lava.
Look, come here, boy. I'm gonna put Lundgaard in a headlock again. Come here, boy. Like Lundgaard was so good. He was so good last year.
We've seen him take RLL in a dilapidated state to victories. He did it once in Toronto. So you got to feel like with the better resources and equipment that he has at Arrow McLaren, like the wins are going to come. It was also very encouraging that he got 7th at the 500. His oval results improved, generally speaking, with the change of environment.
Because he was in a shopping cart for his time at RLL. Their oval equipment was so bad they were barely out qualifying Indy Next cars at Milwaukee. I was there. I witnessed it.
He had a technical problem from a front row start in Nashville that I think would have put Lundgaard 3rd in points if it wasn't for that final round. I really do think, small hot take, I think Lundgaard wins multiple races this season. I really do.
I don't even think that's a hot take anymore.
It's going to depend on McLaren, really. Like how McLaren have been... It's almost equated to what they were in F1 in 2023 when... Like, you had a really good season. The problem is that happened out in front of you.
Yes. There's no excuses now. They are now good enough to challenge for everything. Like, McLaren needs a big win. Like Palou is good enough for the occasional win and some good vibes and merchandise sales.
They got to take a title down to the last race.
Again.
Challenge for something. And I don't just mean the 500 either.
Or win a 500. That's got to be the goal here.
Mm-hmm.
Max makes a great point. Palou wins a lot in garbage time. He wins when champions are already over. That's his biggest problem.
Yeah, he needs to be... And it was early on last year, he was not very good. He was qualifying really, really badly in the first quarter of the year. He got better at that.
He salvaged results.
He salvaged results out of it. The problem is that he was starting... He was starting from mid-teen positions. And even if you go alternate strategy, you throw the house at it, and it works. The problem is that Alex Palou is winning every race.
That was the problem. The title for Palou was over before it started because Palou won 5 out of the first 6. And the one he didn't was a second place. So from a title standpoint, it was already dead by June. You just didn't know it yet. So
we kind of knew it.
The other elephant in the room here is Nolan Siegel.
Let's call a spade, because Zach Brown has called him this. He's a pay driver. And pay driver is not automatically an insult. Mm-hmm. In this case, it sort of is. He was not good last year.
He was 22nd in points, and he said, Tony Kanaan has said, Zach Brown has said that top 10 is the expectation. Is that enough to save his job if he finishes top 10 in points? It would be a massive improvement.
That would be fine.
The problem is that would take a gargantuan leap.
It would take an improvement of 10 positions. He had a good Rolex.
He did have a good Rolex, but Rolex is a very, very, very different form compared to this. He was 22nd last year, and honestly, it felt like it.
Yeah.
And the moment it looked like there was some momentum getting under his sails, there would be an immediate setback the following race.
Hard cut to him having he had an okay 500, and then he crashed.
He was looking good at Iowa and then crashed so hard he got concussed out of the next race.
It was a 22nd, and it felt like a 22nd, and the problem is Pato O'Ward was doing miracles in the same equipment when he was qualifying poorly. Christian Lundgaard went from RLL to McLaren and instantly looked like a genuine top 5 driver in the field, because he was.
And there will be free agents in 2027. If that number 6 car comes available, you think if Joseph Newgarden's displaced from Penske, do you think that McLaren wouldn't want to take a swing at him?
Rips your arm off for that 6th seat. That'll be the best available seat in the sport.
Renus VK would want that seat?
It'd be the best available seat in the sport, and without a particular comparison.
Could you imagine a McLaren team with Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, and Christian Lundgaard? That's a Death Star.
That is a 500 death lineup if I've ever seen it.
That'd be so funny, man. Hey, they could always try and hire Felix Rosenqvist back and be like, hey, sorry that time we tried to push you out on a rail for like 2 whole years of your tenure here.
We have your husband here.
It feels like the middle seat at McLaren, everyone would be better served by not desperately looking at what's next and just working on what you have. But that's not how Zach Brown rolls.
The problem is now this is actually the one time that they are working with what they have, and people aren't happy about it because working with what we have means no one's saying
you had Felix Rosenqvist. You had Felix Rosenqvist, Alex Rossi, and David Malukas in your team, and you shoved all of them out the door. Who's in that car now? The guy who you more or less openly insulted in your behind-the-scenes contract discussions in the whole Alex Palou case.
All of this because you couldn't get Alex Palou, because you had to fall on David Malukas as a backup plan. You weren't patient enough to wait for him to heal, so you brought in Callum Ilott. You brought in Teo Pourchaire. You've brought in Teo Pourchaire. Teo Pourchaire was buying furniture for his new place at Indy, but you didn't want to get him out of his Sauber deal, so you got rid of him. And lo and behold, Nolan Siegel just won. Use at your other project, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
You have a murderer's row of young driver excellence having cycled through this team in the last 5 years. And they've ended up with someone who just doesn't feel like they're cut out for this.
You were arrogant enough not to go after willpower in the off-season. This better work.
Please.
Can't really say it better than that.
Chip Ganassi.
Here we go. Well, if they're not the best team in the sport right now, they still have the best driver. It's Alex Palou. You just need more of the same. I don't know if we're getting 700 points and 8 wins again, but he's the title favorite until proven otherwise.
Well, he has competed in one race this year, and
He was
it was
in
at the
it.
Rolex 24, where he was the second fastest driver, substantially faster than all of the regulars in the Acura program.
And it would have amounted to something had they not had a wheel fall off before the fog delay.
Wouldn't have amounted to anything because Porsche had a goddamn death grip on that race from the third lap. Besides that, you have Scott Dixon, who even in a old, decrepit, diminished state, he's still good enough for third in the championship.
This is year 26 of Scott Dixon in top-tier single-seater American racing.
He's still good enough for third in the championship. I don't know how. I don't know how this guy's still this good.
Or should I say, now, Sir Scott Dixon.
Scott Dixon.
Yeah, there we go. That's right.
In New Zealand. He's been knighted in New Zealand. He's now a Knight of the Realm, so he's now Sir Scott Dixon.
Max makes a great point. Scott Dixon has been American open wheel racing. His kart debut was 2001, longer than I've been alive. Not me, but, the person I'm chatting.
You can score Scott Dixon's career by measuring it in units of M101 supporter.
Yeah.
He started out back in a Coors Light Toyota kart car.
That's how he started at Ganassi. He started with Pac West.
I want to say all in, it's 414 career starts.
And the terrifying thing is, he's still good enough to keep doing this.
Uh-huh.
He's still a threat. He's still capable of winning a race if Alex Palou forgets how to drive for like 10 seconds. He's still so goddamn good.
Here's the thing, right? I think the qualifying game is gone for the most part.
It's been gone.
I think
it's been gone for like 3 years now.
I think the ultimate ceiling of Dixon is not there anymore. However, he is still... The floor is still immaculate. It's still good enough to finish top 10 every week when he wants to. I think Dixon is still here for one reason and one reason only.
Another 500.
The last thing I think he would need to seal his status as the greatest of all time, a second 500. He's got one. I think a second would seal it.
Well... The problem for him is the other guy. I will say this about Kiffin Simpson. Best looking car on the grid this year. That Sunoco livery fucks.
Oh my God. It should be illegal to have a car look that good. And I'll say this. Kiffin Simpson had enough of an upturn last year where you justify keeping on board. It's not Marcus Ericsson. It's not what you had in Linus Lundqvist or Marcus Armstrong, but it was better. Probably give Nolan Siegel some chance that, things can get better in 2026.
Yeah, I suppose the thing with Kiffin, right, is the bar was under the jail.
Uh-huh.
But he did take a massive leap from that, and especially late on last season.
Oh, yeah.
He was throwing hands with people for top fives.
Podium in Toronto, was fourth in Nashville, and he was
fought to the death for that as well.
He was elbow rubbing with Scott McLaughlin all the way for his first podium on an oval. There's
still so young.
Here. He's 21. He's a baby.
Yeah, he has plenty of time you'd like to think Chip is going to keep giving him the time as long as he doesn't start writing off cars every week. And if he takes anything like that next step, like raw speed is here. The biggest thing is the consistency. It's piecing it together stint by stint.
Yeah.
If he can take another big step, there's no reason why he can't start turning into that Marcus Ericsson, where he is, he's not the two guys over there.
Yeah.
But he can still line up and bring you good points every week.
Yeah, and even before Ericsson, you had like Charlie Kimball in his prime of Ganassi was like a solid top 12 driver in the series, a race winner, a guy that could challenge for podiums on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, tangible progress, but as put in the chat, more needed.
He ain't the
other guy, the unstoppable killing machine that was Alex Palou last year.
What's there to say?
We'll just do more of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the problem with Alex Palou. You probably can't do what you did last year because last year's the greatest season we've ever seen. However, we are testing at Phoenix right now, and he is top Honda.
Oh, good.
On an oval.
Oh, good.
He kicked the door off the oval vault.
Oh, no.
He won at the 500, famously. Indy 500 winner Alex Palou. And then he won on a short oval. And then he was dominant at Milwaukee until a literal act of God.
You know what this is? This was Happy Gilmore turning to Shooter McGavin at the end of the movie and going, oh, Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
But as I've often said, though, in the years leading up to this, Palou was always like a solid top 5, top 10. He was never bad at oval. He was always pretty good.
His 2K rating on oval was like an 89.
Yeah.
And then last year it jumped up to like a 96.
Meanwhile,
on the road and street courses, he broke the scale.
Yeah.
Dog, you were paying so much real life money for that 99 overall Alex Palou card in that hypothetical IndyCar series game. Maybe it comes. We'll see.
I have one. It's signed.
It's paying NBA 2K26 and getting the dark matter Alex Palou that's rated 99. Good luck, everybody.
Like, what was the signature last year outside the 500? Bolt on hard tires, burn the field down.
Yep. He was comprehensively better than everybody else. Like I said, I don't think 2025 is sustainable as a mark for him because it was just so goddamn good.
Hey, we said that about 2023 now, didn't we?
But who knows with Palou at this point? Really, it's that simple. More of the same.
And the thing is, he doesn't need to. The thing is, he doesn't necessarily need to as well, because we saw in 2024, Ganassi was not as strong, especially on the oval side of the equation. But his floor is like even better than Dixon's.
Yeah.
And last year, he had an even better floor, and he punched the ceiling about 10 layers up into a skyscraper.
I think he's also going to be motivated.
He's going to be motivated to beat the shit out of those orange cars.
Yeah.
You took my money.
He is the modern day Dario. And Dario was 10 years older when he was in his prime.
I'll tell you, as an in-period Dario fan, he's better. And Dario Franchitti was practically invulnerable at times.
Yeah.
This is turning back into that damn Spaniard glazing, like it usually does on this show.
It does. It does.
The problem, what do you need to beat Alex Palou over a season? Because at the 500, we'll see. It feels like it's going to depend on what does Ganassi bring. Last year, they brought a phenomenal race package. Didn't quite have it in qualifying. Had it in spades in the race. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. But over a season, what do you do about this guy?
You need 5 wins. You need 5 wins and basically perfection. You don't have any bad days.
You need 5 wins, and you need to treat anything under the podium like it's lava. And even then, it's like we saw it with Joseph Newgarden in 2024. It's like, the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
Because, he had a disastrous race. He finished second.
Yep.
Okay.
More of the same from Palou. Right. Predictions before we get out of here. This is always the fun part on this show. Right. the big one. Who wins the Indy 500?
Ooh. This is always a tempting honeypot for me to pick Pato Award.
I'll cut to the chase. I am picking Pato Award. It's got to be this year. It's got to be.
It really does feel like it's got to be this year, which is why I'm going off the board, and I'm thinking Will Power with Andretti Global wins the second Indy 500.
Dude, if I see that 26 car take another flight during the month of May, I'm going to hurt you. Because every year...
It can't be worse. It can't be worse than what happened to some people's picks at the 500.
I don't know. Colton Herta's month of May last year was pretty fucking bad. And I'm still mad as hell because that had Dan Weldon's number on it.
Are you picking for, I assume you're picking Palou, Cam?
Who the fuck do you think I'm picking?
Okay.
Come on.
Silly question.
It is, again, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like at the 500 he can turn junk into winning. Mm-hmm. But if Ganassi brings a package as good in the race as they did last year, I have no reason to think Palou won't, at minimum, fight for it. Well.
All right, Dre. Let's hit him with some ones where you can't pick Alex Palou.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year.
Kyle Collette, Mick Schumacher, and Dennis Hauger.
Give me some Dennis Hauger.
I'm gonna agree with you. Dennis Hauger for me.
Ooh, I think. No, it's too easy for me to pick. Give me Kyle Collette. I think his team's stronger.
I think all three of these are reasonably fair.
Look,
I think
we're not fading Mick Schumacher. We're actually huge Mick Schumacher fans at M101, but he's jumping into something new.
I just don't think Mick is in a position to succeed, and I think the other two might be.
And Kyle Collette, at times, look, Dennis Hauger won that championship, but everybody thought he was just going to sweep the year and make everybody else look amateurish. Kyle Collette made him closer than a lot of people are willing to admit.
Collette was very solid at Indy Next. Rarely put a foot wrong, or was consistently in the top three. A very good base to work with. There's more than enough room for Collette to be Rookie of the Year. Pardon me. Best 500 part-timer.
Oh, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Ryan Hunter-Reay in a McLaren it feels like that could spring a big surprise in May.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, those who appease the shield must yield. Hunter-Reay for me.
In his final Indy 500, I imagine Takuma Sato will want to go out with at least a top 8 finish. I know he's not confirmed, but I have a feeling he's got one more in him.
That's fair.
Low key, if Takuma does take part, switch my pick to that. It's not confirmed yet. But Takuma is so good at the Speedway.
I have the courage to take that leap of faith.
That's fair. Over under on winners, I am setting the mark at 6.5.
All right. Well,
I think that's a good number.
It is IndyCar. It is spec chassis, choice of 2 engines. So you feel in theory that the potential is there to go over. I'm going over.
6.5. I'm taking the under.
I'm going to say just over. I don't think Palou's winning 8 races this year. I think there's going to be room for it to go around a little bit. I think we'll get exactly 7. So yeah, I think I'm going to say just over 6.5 on that one. And finally, who takes the Astor Cup?
Alex Palou. It's the easiest prediction I'll make all year.
I mean, it's so easy. I'm so tempted. Dre, give him your pick.
I'm not getting burned 2 years in a row. Give me Alex Palou.
Oh, man. Okay, so I guess I've also got to go with Alex Palou.
Don't do the Pecco Bagnaia thing. Don't do the Pecco Bagnaia thing.
I'm going Alex Palou. I'm going Alex Palou. Look, I've learned my lesson. And look, if it's not Alex Palou, then we're all humiliatingly wrong.
I will accept that.
Yeah, I can live with that.
We'll go down with this ship together.
That's more than fair. IndyCar season starts March 1st on the streets of St Petersburg. We've got MX5s, we've got NASCAR Truck Series racing there as well. Should be a fun weekend of racing. James Hinchcliffe's there, Dario Franchitti, Sebastian Bourdais, and Earl Bamber, all's going to be there. It's going to be a fun weekend. We'll be back to talk about IndyCar in a couple of weeks' time after their season opener in St. Pete. We'll be back next week for our Haters Guide to the 2026 MotoGP season. Until then, I've been Dre Harrison. They've been Cam Buckley and RJ O'Connor. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.
Later, y'all.
I like matching the number of presenters on this show, 25 years on from his passing. 3 is for Dale.